Hello and welcome to something we call Gullah Chat. My name is Donna Pazant, and I am so blessed to be here today with one of the co-founders of the original Gullah Festival of South Carolina, Inc. Please introduce yourself. Tell the people who you are.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Pazant Brown. I am the sixth of seven children from Mr. and Mrs. Edward and Rosalie Pazant. Mrs. Rosalie Pazant is the first president and one of the co-founders for the original Gullah Festival. And she's my mom.
And my grandma,
Was my mom. Yes.
which makes her my aunt. But that's not why we're here. We're here today just to give a little bit of history about the original Gullah Festival. And who better to talk to about the history than someone who was there when it all got started. So, Miss Pazant Brown, please tell us a little about how the festival got started. What was it like from the very beginning?
Well, it all started on a summer afternoon in 1984, where there were a group of women at one of my mother's houses, the house on Scott Street. And we were all hot, and we could hear that there was a festival going on downtown called the Water Festival with the motorboat races. And we just started talking about something that would be good for the Black people in the community to do, that would be interesting and fun and educational. And so then my mother, Rosalie Pazant, said that someone on a committee that she was on for with the city had mentioned to her the idea of her possibly doing some kind of a festival for the Blacks in the community, and that she had ignored that suggestion for over a year. But since we were talking about it, it's like, you know what? You're right. Maybe we need to do something. Come up with some idea. Come up with some kind of festival, a fun thing for the Black community to that would be interesting and to show the pride of the Blacks in the community and of the Low Country. And so we started throwing around names, and my sister Lolita, who's now deceased, came up with the term Gullah Festival. And we all thought that that was just great. It was perfect, because what we wanted to do was we wanted to have something that was going to show the customs and the cultures of the area. We wanted to make sure that it was educational. We wanted it to be something that the people in the community would be proud of. We wanted to bring a positive image to the Beaufort area, to the Low Country, to the state of South Carolina, and to the nation, that Gullah was a language that we should try to preserve. The customs and cultures we should try to preserve, because if they ever disappear, then that might be it.
Right.
So we all agreed that we would try to get some things together. So that was my mother, Rosalie Pazant, my sister, Lolita Pazant Harris, my baby sister, Reba Pazant, a friend of ours, Marlena McGee, and me. We were the five women who were talking about trying to do something. And so we started with some very raw plans of what we could do. And then we had to find places to meet. We had to come up with ideas. And so after a year of meeting and getting people involved and willing to want to be a part of it, we had our first festival in 1985 at the Beaufort Waterfront Park. And to our dismay, there were only 35 people who attended. And we had gotten into major debt with the city because we had flown the Hawkins family out from California. You've heard of them, the Tremaine Hawkins and all of the Hawkins singers. But
Absolutely.
no one in little country town Beaufort wanted to believe that they were actually there. And so they performed to the 35 people. And we ended up in major debt because we borrowed the money from the city. So that meant that our one-time festival had no choice but to become an annual event because we had to raise the money to pay the city back. And that was, I assume, all a part of God's plan for us to actually get it started by getting us in debt so we would have to continue because we really only thought we were going to do it for 1 year. And that 1
Well,
year
well,
stayed
41 years later.
41 years later, thank God.
Did you ever
And
think that it would go? I mean, I know you just said that you didn't even plan to do it for another year, but even after the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, did you ever really think that it would go into over 40 years?
initially, no. But after we got started and we saw the impact that it had on the people who came, and when we saw how important it was for people who even didn't get a chance to attend but who heard about it, for them to try to want to know more about their heritage, we realized that it was something that was more or less a calling. It was something that we had to do. We had to make sure that it would continue because of the people that it could touch, the knowledge that it could give to a lot of people who had no idea about Gullah or this part of the Low Country. And to our surprise, we started getting people coming from different countries interested in wanting to know more, and people doing research that we had no idea were doing research on us as a family, on the Gullah Festival, on Gullah as a language. The next thing we knew, Gullah was being implemented into college curriculums and high school curriculums, and it just kind of morphed into some big, wonderful thing that when I hear someone talk about things that they're doing and they use the term Gullah and education, I just smile quietly, and it's like, gee, I had a great part to play in that actually coming into being, so that it's not just some little country bird here in the South, but now it's internationally known. And that would not have happened if it had not been for our efforts.
And we are so appreciative. As an educator myself, I'm glad to hear that the culture is still being learned and taught, and it is definitely necessary to preserve it.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, you are, well, for those of you who are kind of new to what we do with the Gullah Festival, we have different areas of the festival. I'm actually over vending, and I do social media and the website, and I do these interviews. But this young lady here, she is over something we call Lest We Forget. And Lest We Forget is our walking museum. Can you tell us a little bit about the walking museum and some of the things they might see? This is actually one of the free parts of the Gullah Festival. There are a lot of event tickets. The entrance to the park is free, but there are different areas like the workshops. Well, we'll get into all those. Let's talk about the Lest We Forget Walking Museum first.
Well, the idea of Lest We Forget, because from the very beginning, one of the things that we always wanted to do was to preserve the customs and the cultures, and to definitely have some educational components. We did not want the festival to just be a party hard weekend. We wanted to make sure that when people came here, they left with some knowledge, possibly, hopefully, of some things that they did not know before. So when we first started the Lest We Forget in 2009, it was basically lectures and forums and people coming in speaking about different parts of the customs and the cultures of the area and the history of how Gullah traveled from Africa to South Carolina, that type of thing. But then along came COVID, and we could not do the gatherings like we did before because of COVID. So we decided that what we would do is we would develop a walkthrough museum. That way people could walk through, look at the different items that we had to offer that had to do with the history of the Low Country and of South Carolina, and then they could leave and go away with something. The place we chose for the Lest We Forget, we feel is very significant because it's at Tabernacle Baptist Church, which is 160 plus years old. And we wanted to make sure that we incorporated that old church and what it has to offer as a part of things that people should not ever forget. We have stained glass windows that were handcrafted by one of the members of Tabernacle. At that time, she's long gone, but she did the stained glass windows. We also have the baptismal pool, which is right under the pulpit. That's something that is a little different because when you stop to think that, back during over 150 plus years ago, we have this pool that goes down 5 feet under the pulpit with water in it. And people would go in and get baptized within the church. It's amazing. We also have in the church yard, we have the gravesite of Robert Smalls and 2 of his wives and a daughter. And also on the church grounds, we have a large monument of Harriet Tubman, because Harriet Tubman used to use Tabernacle as a place for many of her meetings when she was making plans for her trips going north on the Underground Railroad. Also in our Lest We Forget, we have information about ancestry, and we used our family, the Pazant family, heritage, ancestry, as the flagship for display to show how an individual can find out a lot of things of what they might want to know about their ancestors and the way to go about doing it. And so we try to have information there for them so that they can help use that to help them find out more about their ancestry. We also have portion of the Black Inventors Museum on display that was gifted to us from Betty Shabazz. Our mother purchased it. She had first rights of refusal to purchase the Black Inventors Museum, and she chose to do that. And so we take portions of that museum and we have it on display in our Lest We Forget Walkthrough Museum. We also have information about the Moffett Point Marines that was gifted to us from Paris Island. We have information about the Tuskegee Airmen that we have on display, special artifacts that we have access to from one of our city councilmen, Councilman Mitchell. We also have maps of grave sites from off of Paris Island, because many years ago, a lot of slaves lived on Paris Island. And it wasn't until many years later that the Marine Corps decided that it would be the ideal place for recruit training because it was basically surrounded by water. And there were a lot of mosquitoes and things like that. Those were things that slaves had to endure all the time. But it was something that was selected as a good place for recruit training. And so there are a lot of grave sites. I think we have like 4 or 5 different grave sites that were discovered by the people in charge over at Paris Island. And there are 50 to 100 to 150 slaves in each one of those different cemeteries. We found that very interesting. We also have sweetgrass baskets that are available for people to see. We have a section for books that were written by Black authors from the Low Country and from the Beaufort area in particular. We also have art displays by some of the artists in our area. In addition, we have hand quilts that have been done by local quilters in the area. We have crocheting
Oh my
done
God.
by some individuals. Yes,
It's
we
almost like,
have,
what don't you have in there? Now listen, don't give it all away.
and of course, I do have to mention that we have the Gone But Not Forgotten in our Lest We Forget area because we do not ever want to forget the shoulders that we stand on. And so we recognize those individuals who volunteered and worked with the festival, but they have now gone on. And for a short while, I thought that we would not have any to recognize this year, but God had different plans. And within the last 3 weeks, we lost 2 original Gullah Festival members who worked with us tirelessly for 41 years. And so the 2 of them will be recognized in our area called Gone But Not Forgotten.
Yeah, I'm really tired of adding to that book, but like you said, I
Yes,
had other plans.
God
Um,
have it.
but yeah, so that threw me off a little bit. But yeah,
Sorry.
the Lest We Forget Walkthrough Museum is going to be amazing. So you've got to go check it out.
Can I add
What?
this too?
Sure,
There,
sure.
there are 2 new things that we're adding this year. We're adding a display on Penn Center and we're adding a display on Mather School because those were the 2 oldest schools for Blacks that were developed in the United States. And we now have information to do like displays on both of those. So they will also be included in our museum.
Well, it sounds amazing. So listen, folks, if you go to the website originalgullafestival.org,
Mhm.
you'll notice on the tickets tab, when you get to Lest We Forget, all you have to do is register. We just want an idea of how many people plan on walking through. There is no cost to attend. We do ask for a donation toward the end, on your way out, but it is not mandatory, but we do ask. And like I said, there is no fee, but you have to go to originalgullafestival.org. And also, there are workshops available. So I need you to pay very close attention to the days and times because some of the workshops happen twice. Like, for example, the rice farming workshop, there's like 2 on Friday, 2 on Saturday. Blacksmithing, 2 on, there are sometimes 2 on the same day. So you have to pay attention to the times of these workshops, okay? Because we don't want you to make a mistake and purchase the wrong ticket. You didn't mean to pick that day. I need to do Saturday, but I bought it for Friday. So we're asking you from the beginning to please pay close attention to the dates and times of the workshops you are interested in purchasing. Also, we have our inaugural Gullah Riverboat Cruise. It's our first year doing it, and it's going to be awesome. The deadline to purchase those tickets is May 12th. So you want to make sure you get that in. Okay, May 12th. Get your friends together, family, whomever you think might be interested in attending that Gullah Riverboat cruise. It's the first one. It's going to be awesome, but you've got to purchase those tickets by May 12th. Okay. We have an Alimu excursion. It's geared toward educators and journalists, but all are welcome. Information is on the website for that excursion as well. And all of this is taking place Memorial Day weekend. So the Alimu excursion and the Gullah Riverboat cruise actually are taking place on the 21st. And so some people might say, well, how come you have two things on the same day? Well, everybody can't do everything. So we have provided options this year. There are a lot of different activities that are available, and we are a family-friendly event. So there are some things that are more geared toward children, like on Friday, the Friday of the festival, that's when we have our schools come and attend and perform, like Buford Elementary and some of the other schools. So, but like I said, there's something for everybody, but we really want you to start making your plans, get your hotel reservations, get that ticket money together, and really sit down and look at the schedule, because the schedule for 2026 is posted. Okay. Now, Miss Brown.
That's all right.
For people who for people who have never been to the festival, because we have a lot of people who come repeatedly year after year after year.
Yeah.
But for people who have never been to the Gullah Festival, tell them why they should come. Like, why should I get my family together? Why should I get a hotel reservation and tickets and all this stuff? Why? Why should I come?
Well, I think for a number of reasons. One is to dispel the myth that because you're a Gullah, you're uneducated and you walk around with tattered clothes and you are poor and disenfranchised and all of those things. Another reason is because you will find out that Gullah Festival will introduce you to a world and a culture of education and talent and arts and delicious foods of the Low Country, all of the things that you will never find in a big city. You will find it at the Gullah Festival because it's more of a family-oriented type area, a place where you can sit back and relax, enjoy the breeze from the river, eat the cultural rice and fried chicken and collard greens and all of those other dishes which are typical of this area. Some people look at them as dishes that they might only get New Year's Eve or something. That's everyday. That you can tell by my weight. That's everyday meals here is all of that. Then you have the people, the friendship, the warm greetings that you will feel and receive that you'll never get in larger cities. In larger cities, people walk by you and never say hello. It's like you don't exist. But here in the Low Country, everybody is greeted warmly. Sometimes you'll get hugs, whether you want them or not. We're just very friendly in the Low Country. And you will find that the history of your family, it's likely that you will find some of your family history here. It just takes a little bit of research because the majority of African Americans who came to the United States stopped in through this Low Country area. So, and then on top of that, there's so much history here because it was one of the first stops there that the explorers came to. So there's so much history. There's customs, there's cultures, the food, the people. There are just so many things that are so positive. You will quickly forget that you thought that people could were speaking broken language. Well, some still do, but uh, the majority of the people are very friendly, and there's not any problem understanding what they say. But there is a language that was here that we want people to remember.
Yes, well, while you just said that, I wanted to let people know if you saw on one of our or any of our social media platforms, this is the young lady who was reading, she was doing the Lord's Prayer in Gullah. This is the lady right here. And also, I wanted to address some of the concerns we've been getting about the construction that's going on at the park and in Beaufort. Now, of course, we have no control over any of that. However, the festival is still going on. The only thing is we might be a little bit inconvenienced about areas where we can, walk through to certain things, but
Right.
it's still happening. The vendors will still be there. Oh, speaking of the food, I know the food that's coming. Because that's my job. But yes, you will be very impressed by the food that is coming to this festival this year. And also the craft vendors. They're ready. They're it's almost like we're almost full. Almost full. So that's a good thing. And they're getting ready for you. And like I said, with the construction, it is what it is. But it's
Yeah.
still going down, we're still having it. And
We,
so
yes, let me add this. We never let anything stop us from moving forward with our festival. One year it poured down rain and it was like 50 degrees in May, but we still had our festival. Another year we had a tropical storm that was right off the coast, but it never came to shore to visit us at the festival. We thought we just got a nice breeze. We have had different obstacles, but the city of Beaufort is growing, and so there has to be a lot of development. And right now, the city is in the process of replacing all of the old sewage lines throughout the entire old town, Beaufort. So
but
that
we're still
means
but we'll be fine.
we're going to be fine because they're making the pathways that you can get through to everything. You might have to walk a little bit further to get around to a door or something like that, but you can still get to things. And
Yes, and we're going to do all that we can to make it as convenient for you as possible.
as
We're working on
possible.
parking lots and shuttles and things of that nature. So we're working on it because our goal is for you to come and have a good time. Be
Exactly.
relaxed, bring your family, your friends, and just have a good time. Bring your money for the
And
vendors.
and learn everything you can about the customs and the cultures of our area.
Yes, and then take it back turnkey for you educators and journalists.
That's
Turnkey
right.
that information, and then next year maybe you can try to get it as a write-off. Like sometimes they could send you to different workshops, get information, and then bring it back. And sometimes schools will pay for it. So just think about that for next year. It's too late for this year, but think about it for next year. So listen, I think we've covered a lot. We've got the history, we've got Lest We Forget, we've got the workshops, the website. Again, I'll give that to you, originalgullahfestival.org. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms. That would be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Yes, we have a TikTok account.
Wow.
So yeah, so please be sure to follow. What do they say? Like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Okay, so until we come back to our next Gullah chat, just think about all of that. All right, bye
All
everybody.
right. Bye bye.